The Interesting Conversations with Interesting People podcast series with author Nigel Beckles.
Welcome to the podcast.
Please like the podcast and subscribe to this channel. Thank you. The very best way to promote your podcasts. Podpage makes it easy to create a podcast website with just a few clicks. Every page is optimized to be found on Google and it stays up to date forever. For more information, visit podpage.com. The future of podcast promotion.
Have you experienced several failed relationships or been through a divorce? How can you avoid making the same mistakes again? How to avoid making the big relationship mistakes is out now.
Hi, my name is Nigel Beckles. My book is packed with practical and common sense strategies that you can use to make better relationship choices.
Now you can discover the dangerous myths about love. If your relationship expectations are realistic, why you could be falling in love for all the wrong reasons.
How to avoid making the big relationship mistakes. It's a book that could change your life.
Available from amazon.co.uk. Kindle version also available.
Author Queen P. When the Mood is Right, A Poetry Journey, Mood Swings, and When the Mood is Right, A Rebirth. Books available on Amazon and all good bookstores.
Join Queen P for the Royal Affair Poetry Podcast.
Get ready for takeoff.
Welcome back to my Interesting Conversations with Interesting People podcast series. My guest for this episode is an author, researcher, and also a marriage and relationship coach, Liam Naden. Hi Liam, welcome to my podcast series. How are you?
I'm very well, Nigel. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you here. So where do you live at the moment?
At the moment, I'm in northern France, cruising around on my canal boat. So we're in the Somme Valley this week.
So do you live on your boat?
Yes, most of the year I do. Of course, you can tell from my accent I'm originally from New Zealand, but spend most of my time cruising around Europe these days.
So you're an expert regarding how our brains work. How did you become interested in helping people make their brains work more effectively?
Well, probably like most of the people listening to your podcast, I've always been interested in how can I be successful and how can I get more out of life. Trying to find the answer to that question takes many forms, and people go down all sorts of avenues. And I've tried most of the avenues: religion, spirituality, personal development and self-help, business studies, all of these different things to try and figure out how I could be more successful in life and figure out the answer to being in control of my life. But something interesting happened in my mid-40s, and that was that I lost everything I had, and I became homeless. I ended up having to move back in with my elderly mother and sleep on the sofa in a small apartment, a small flat. And as I was going through that, I thought, well, this is crazy. Why did this happen to me when I'm such an expert on success? I've spent years learning how to take control of your life, and suddenly it felt like I was completely powerless. None of it should have happened. So when I started to rebuild my life back, things were quite a lot different to the way they'd ever been. And I was starting to attract to me much more successful situations, better people. I was attracting business opportunities. I was starting to do things that I really loved. And there was no stress or problems attached, which had been the struggle and stress had been what my life had been about. So I've got to figure out what's different here, what's going on. Because all of the things that I'd tried, they didn't seem to work. I stumbled on this idea. I took it right back to basics and thought, who are we fundamentally? Well, we're a physical being. We're a lot more than a physical being, but we live in a physical world. And as I started to really research and think about and look at how we behave and the results we get in life in this world, it led me into studying the brain and discovering that the brain really is a machine that's designed not only to keep us alive, but to give us the best life possible. And the more I dug into this, I found that science, religion, spirituality, self-help, all of these things were actually teaching this message, most of the time without realizing that they were, and also misinterpreting a lot, or many people were misinterpreting how our brain actually functions to provide for us not only the results that we get, but if you use it the right way, the results that you really want. So this is where I got really fascinated. And as I say, the more I researched, the more logical it became as an explanation as to how results are the way they are. And when I started to realize what I'd done and apply it in my own life even more, and also start helping other people with this, other people were getting great results as well. So really, that's when I knew I was onto something.
Well, I understand you're also a marriage and relationship coach. What type of issues do clients approach you about regarding their relationship problems?
Well, what I really specialize in that is helping couples, or more specifically individuals, who are faced with the problem of their spouse, being their husband or their wife, telling them that they want to end their marriage. And when you think about it, that's the biggest problem anyone can face in a relationship, is when your husband or your wife is really adamant that they want to end the relationship and you don't want it to end. So that's what I sort of specialize in, and I have a couple of coaching programs, and I do private coaching as well. Really how you can turn your marriage situation around, where it's not about talking your husband or your wife into staying, but it's about doing the things that are going to make them want to stay. And most of the time people have forgotten or don't realize that they're actually doing the things that will push them away rather than the opposite. So that's really my area of focus in the marriage and relationships area.
So would you describe your work as crisis intervention?
Yes, that's probably a good way of putting it.
Well, you've created several courses. How do your courses help people?
Well, the main thing is, in my marriage and relationships coaching, obviously it's designed to help them get to a place where they can create a much better environment for their marriage and therefore give it the greatest opportunity for it to be healed. And I also do programs and coaching in this wider area of all problems, really. So for anybody who's feeling unfulfilled, a lot of people are the ones who are already very successful. And if they're trying to figure out, why am I still stressed? Why do I still have problems? And why don't I feel really as fulfilled and happy as I thought I would be once I'd achieved all the goals that I've achieved? So I've really broadened this out to use this whole concept of how we use our brains, both for relationships and really for other issues in people's lives as well.
Well, you're a busy man, Liam, because you're also an author. How many books have you written?
Well, I've written a lot of Kindle books. I think I'm up to about 27 books by now. So many of them are quite short and not filled with a lot of fluff, and they deal with specific things. A lot of them are about relationships. But yeah, I think it's about 27, 28, 3 or 4 on the burning away in progress at the moment as well.
So what type of topics do your books explore?
Well, I have a lot of books on marriage and relationships, various aspects of that. I have some on this wider issue of the brain, and my latest book is on quite a different topic altogether.
So what's your latest book called, and what is it about?
What's always fascinated me and puzzled me is why most people can't see the truth about anything. And you think about your relationship, very often, if you have problems, you can't see yourself the solution to those problems. And you might have a friend who says to you, I can see what you should do. You should do this. Or you get a coach who says, you should do this. And they can see very clearly what you should do. The reason for that is the way you're using your brain when you're stressed is you can't see the truth. And one of my favorite sayings, which I invented, is when you use your brain correctly, your awareness shifts and you see the truth. The truth reveals itself to you. And I feel one of the great tragedies of the world is that most people are wandering around not knowing the truth about anything, but just believing what they've been told by people who have an agenda to get them to want to believe something. And you really need to do at least 1,000 hours. People have come up with this, and I think it's true. You have to do 1,000 hours of research before you can start to uncover the truth about anything. So many people have an opinion, but they don't know the truth. So my latest book is a study on something that I have done more than 1,000 hours of research on, because I really wanted to find out the truth about it rather than just what people say on the news. And it's about, of all things, it's about Bitcoin, the cryptocurrency. The book is called Should You Own Bitcoin? The book's free. I'm giving the book away, and it's not a technical book, 77 pages long. It's not full of great jargon, and it's really designed for people who know nothing about Bitcoin but have probably heard something and probably heard something negative about it. And then I think rather than give my opinion, people should read the book and make up their own mind. But it is based on what I have found to be the truth about what Bitcoin is.
Well, you're also a podcaster. So what is your podcast called, and what type of topics do you explore on your podcasts?
Well, I've actually got 2 podcasts. One's called Growing in Love for Life, which is about saving and strengthening your marriage. And that's pretty self-explanatory. And that covers all sorts of topics on communication, intimacy, having problems, how to get your husband or your wife to want to be with you. And the other podcast, which is the more recent one I have, is all about this brain stuff and about why we create the results we do in our life. And that's called Using Your Brain for Success.
Well, that sounds very interesting. So, Liam, how can people contact you?
The easiest way is just to go to my website, which is just my name, liamnaden.com. That's got all the podcasts, all the books, information. Yeah.
Liam in northern France, for the moment, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. It's been great fun.
Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, and share. Another Interesting Conversations with Interesting People podcast coming soon.